Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we will explore the cause and effect of just saying yes in your everyday life or in business. I will dig into topics that are not just stimulating, but will challenge you to be better in everything you do. The podcast is based on the simplicity of saying yes to opportunities you might encounter every single day. I'm your host, Jim Riley. Join me in my first series titled Blue Collar Redefined. Hello and welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast. Thanks for tuning in. If you have not heard this week's and last week's Baja sessions with Bruce Myers, what an incredible story. It could have been on the Baja show and or this show because Bruce has such a rich history in business development, creating a product, not to mention his adventures in Baja. But, that show's about a man that really created the term off-road through his dune buggy. So anyways, if you haven't checked it out, it's a great story. I highly encourage you to go back and listen. It's two parts because there was so much to it. Bruce is in his 90s, so we wanted to catch everything we could. So anyways, thanks for listening. It's been an interesting week as a parent. If I've got parents listening, my wife was at a local store, Target, last week, and it was kind of freaky. It was raining outside, and she was just doing some window shopping. She needed a couple things, but nothing too important. But as she bounced around the store, she noticed that there was a couple basically stalking her. And a man and a wife would show up at different times, not communicating with each other, but also pretending to be by themselves. And my wife said they just kept showing up. And then she went all the way across the store from like the toy aisle all the way to the produce aisle. They showed up over there. Well, as it turned out, they kind of followed her all the way to the exit. And my wife wound up calling security, and they basically ran out of the store with no groceries. So, look, I'm not implying anything. Maybe they're after her purse. She was with her two little girls. I just think that we all need to have a heightened sense of awareness of our surroundings and people around us and what's happening. Let's not take our safety for granted. And this was just a nice little wake-up call for the Riley family to pay attention. And I'm so glad that my wife was in tune early when these people started showing up around her. That you just never know. And we live in a strange society and lots of things going on. And I encourage you, if you're parents, watch your kids, pay attention. Last night I was at Smart and Final, and in the short amount of time I was in line paying for my groceries, I watched two different people steal something. And I talked to the cashier, and there's nothing they can do about it. So just interesting. Put that aside. This show's about being positive. I just wanted to encourage you to be safe and cautious. What's interesting about doing a podcast and the world that I'm living in within this podcast is that you start doing research on people and learning different things, and others will throw neat ideas out at you or interesting guests. And man, I've had all sorts. And I'm just fascinated by the world that we live in. And for some reason, I'm going down this road of a science that they call CRISPR, and that's CRISPR. One of my listeners, Richard, told me about this. Thank you, Richard. Now I'm going down this black hole. But if you haven't looked up CRISPR, it's about DNA, basically cutting strands of your DNA to help cure diseases and bacterial infections and viruses and things like that. But it's to the point where down the road, this could help solve the AIDS phenomenon, maybe cancer, and it's genome editing. It's mind-boggling. It's way beyond my depth of understanding, but I'm reading what I can on it because it's very interesting in the science world and where things are taking us as humans. And I can't help but laugh because, I'm thinking about how do I get more social media followers and build up my social media and my business, my podcast. And there's researchers out there trying to fix my genes and my DNA so that I can fight off or get rid of infectious diseases and viruses. And thank goodness for people like that. If you know of a scientist or somebody that is very compelling in that way and would be willing to come on my show, let me know. Make an introduction because I think it'd be fascinating to hear about a different world that most of us aren't exposed to. So just for fun, look up CRISPR, CRISPR. There's a nice Wikipedia definition of it and all the things to go with that. So just when you got a few minutes, go down that black hole. But while I'm doing that, today's guest is really interesting. He's gone through several brain surgeries because of tumors, and nobody can tell the story like he can. But, again, I'm just fascinated by what we can do as humans, not only on the science side of the surgeries that this guest has had, but also on the physical strength side and mental strength that our guest had to overcome these surgeries and continue living a normal life. So I have Josh Perry calling in, and we're going to talk to him. He was a pro BMX rider, and now he is on a speaking tour and a motivational speaking tour as well about what he's gone through. So very fascinating. I hope you enjoy today's guest. I know I enjoyed interviewing him. So let's listen in as we take the call. Well, I've got Josh Perry on the line. He is a professional BMX athlete. Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Jim, man. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, we've tossed some emails back and forth for a couple months, and I know between schedules and everything that you have going on and myself, I'm thrilled to finally get caught up with you and have you on this show because I think you've got a tremendous story to tell, and just the twists and turns of your own personal life. So I'm excited to hear some of that.
Yeah, for sure, and I appreciate you having me on, like I said, and it's been a little while in the making, but I think it was you posted something saying, if you're interested in, hopping on and having a conversation, just type yes. And I was like, yeah, sure. Yes. Yes.
Hey,
so I'm glad it manifested.
Yeah, the answer is yes. So, can you give my listeners a background? You are a professional BMX athlete, and I'm sure things were just going great as planned or not. Tell us how things started, or how you got into being a BMX athlete. I've known a couple in my lifetime, and I just think you guys are an eclectic group of people, and I'm awestruck that you found a way to make money at it.
Yeah, for sure. It's wild. But I guess it started when I was 13. I asked for a BMX bike for Christmas one year, and my dad got me one, and I was thrilled. And I'd always been playing school sports growing up on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and I started dabbling with skateboards and rollerblades, going to the skate parks and things, and I saw BMX riders and asked for a bike and got it for that Christmas. And then, just like other sports, the natural next step as you progress is to compete. And so as I progressed over the years, started competing in the amateur division, started doing really well, going to the national level. And then, I got a top 10 one year in the nationals, and they flew us out to compete in Portland, Oregon. And then the following year I was competing professionally, and some things happened after that, some decisions I made, but that's ultimately where it started. It was just a hobby that just kept growing, like my interest, to where I stopped playing school sports and then pursued it 100%.
Did you have any role models within the category, within the sport, that you wanted to aspire to be? Or, how did you know you were getting good, and how did you learn how to take it to the next level?
Yeah, no, for sure. And Dave Mirra is just that. He was my hero and idol growing up, and I wanted to be like him. And fast forward a couple, I think I met him actually when I was 13 in 2001. And then, 4 years later, I was competing with him and made the move from Massachusetts to Greenville, North Carolina, where he resided, and a bunch of the other professionals with their private training facilities, and actually became friends with him, and he mentored me, and we rode on a regular basis at his private warehouse. And to be able to, make my dream come true and become friends with, my childhood hero was amazing. And so I've always been, greatly inspired and motivated by him, and just full of gratitude to have made my dream come true and become friends with him. It's been amazing.
Yeah. What's interesting about extreme sports, and I think we're a lot more understanding now in the world that we live in today. But, 10 years ago when Mirra was, superstar celebrity, I've got a friend, his name is Heath Pinter. He did some BMXing.
I know Heath.
Yeah, he competed. And, when I first started hanging out with him, I thought, wow, that's cool that you're riding the bike, but where you think in the back of your mind, where's that going to go? Like, are you going to make money at this? And then I lost touch with him for a lot of years, and I started racing off-road cars for General Tire, and I was looking at the roster for the next year of lineup of athletes, and his name was on there. I'm like, well, holy cow, how'd he get on there? And I know they were taking really good care of all of us. I thought, man, he's turned his passion into a business, and he's doing really well at it. And it sounds like that's exactly what you managed to do for a time there.
Yeah, no, 100%. It started out, like I said, I think I made $150 in my first amateur contest win. And then, the next year I started riding in the professional ranks and making a little bit more money. And then once I moved to North Carolina, I ended up acquiring sponsors and then got into doing demos and traveling the world, being paid from sponsors to go ride at these events and perform and film videos. And it was literally a dream come true because that's everything I wanted. I didn't know if it would, manifest into reality, but I knew if I wanted a shot, I had to take action. And that's just what I kept doing, was constant action. And then, hard work, a belief, and, nonstop action, it worked out to where it became my reality. And then since then, I've created, more opportunities outside of BMX in a business sense, to where I'm still working for myself for, over half my life now. It's been amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the things that, I know about Heath, is that now he's doing custom cars. He's representing big brands like Red Cap Clothing, and doing a lot of events himself, but all stem from riding BMX. And I just think that it's fascinating that we can take some of these street sports. Of course, we've all seen the evolution of skateboarding, and what Tony Hawk did in that world, and all those other great athletes. That this, BMX is no exception to that. And if I do have some listeners that are young that are thinking about, what they can go out and do, if this is your thing, BMX or skateboarding or any extreme sport, know that there is an opportunity out there for you now, probably more than ever. And I think Josh is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, you're spot on. I mean, if social media was out like it is now, when I was 17 and first turned pro, the amount of possibilities would have just increased, so anyone that wants to do anything, the power of your personal brand and getting your message out there and sharing what you do, like, you can make a career out of anything. It just takes talent, hard work, and dedication. And so, yeah, I mean, if any kid wants to do anything, and that's not even about the money or career, but it's like, if you love something, if I had never made $1 from BMX, but kept going down that route because I loved it, which I still ride, even though I don't make money from it anymore because I love it.
Yeah.
It's taught me so many valuable life lessons, like simply, when you fall down, you get up and try again. And even kids are so, like, within action sports or really any sport, like, you don't see it as failure. You just see, okay, what do I got to do to make this happen? Landing a trick. I fell. Okay, what happened? How do I make this happen? And then if you apply that to life, there's no way you can be anything but successful if you stay at it. And so I think that's one of the most valuable things it's taught me, is you fall down once, you try twice. And that can apply to any aspect of life.
Yeah, it just really comes down to work hard at what you're passionate about, and know that over time, if you're consistent and you maintain that passion, you'll probably succeed at it and enjoy life a whole lot more because you're doing what you love.
Yeah, exactly. Your fulfillment is a pretty interesting thing, and it drives people to do things one way or another. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it doesn't even have to be a goal to make a career or something, but I believe anyone that has something a passion in their life that they have to work for, it teaches you a lot about yourself and about the world. And ultimately, that's what's helped me, preserve my life when I was faced with a life or death situation just after turning 21. And I believe if it wasn't for BMX, my reality would be dramatically different today than if it had been, So I appreciate that life lesson that BMX has taught me.
Yeah. Now, when I look at your life and your story, I break it out into 3 parts. So I see your BMX life, which we just covered. And then we've got your brain tumors and what you've gone through there. And then, of course, where you're at today. So can you tell us, what you've gone through in terms of surgeries and learning about your brain tumors, and how all that started in your thought process? What I saw some of your videos, like, you just knew in your mind that you needed to be looked at. Tell us about that.
Yeah, for sure. And so the 2009 season, I'd gone to the emergency room at urgent care multiple times, and I had to be driven there by friends because these debilitating headaches and migraines that would lead me to throw up. My vision was going, and it was, just suffering. And every time I went in, I was like, hey, like, should we get a scan, X-ray, CAT scan, MRI, something to look in my brain because there's something wrong. Like, you're telling me that there's not, but there is. And every time they'd say, no, you're young. I was 20 and then turned 21 at the end of 2009. So they're like, you're young, you're healthy, blood